I've been lying to you. Every demo on this channel has been painted in a single session, but that's not how I actually work most of the time, and it's not how most professional portrait painters work either. In this video, I'm going to show you the exact process I use on a multi-session portrait, how to work on a painting after it has dried without losing its freshness, and how to stop throwing away paintings that just need fixing. The lie isn't mine. It's built into the name of the technique that I use. I work alla prima, applying wet paint straight onto wet paint without waiting for layers to dry. It's Italian for first attempt, and most people assume that means always finishing a painting in a single session, but that's not what it means at all. The technique was made famous by artists like John Singer Sargent, whose portraits have a loose, spontaneous quality that looks like he effortlessly created them in only a few hours. But in reality, he's known to have worked on portraits for dozens of sittings, repeatedly scraping back and repainting passages until he could achieve exactly what he was after. The freshness you see isn't speed, it's patience. So instead of thinking of alla prima as one attempt, think of it as one process. First blocking in the big shapes, then refining the edges between them, and finally adding small details, working large to small. Whether you're working on something for a few hours or over weeks or months, the process remains the same. And if you get any stage wrong, you can just repeat it while the paint is still wet or even after it has dried. So let me show you how this process works, because it starts before I even touch the canvas. Whenever I'm working on a serious portrait, I'll spend at least one day setting up the pose, making sure I'm happy with the composition and color harmony. I'll then do a small thumbnail study. Working small forces you to simplify. You can't get lost in details. You can only focus on the big shapes. It also helps me plan ahead. I'll decide where my main centers of interest are, look for the hardest and softest edges, and flag which areas might be more challenging. And this is the part most painters miss. Because I've done a thumbnail, I can pre-mix my main colors before I start. So on day one, I don't need to think about mixing at all. All I need to think about is placement. With my palette prepared, I'm now ready to start the actual painting. But before I use any of my pre-mixed colours, I'll first map out the big shapes with a few simple lines. The first stage of any alla prima painting, whether you're working on it for a single session or several, is to block in the big shapes. And because I did a thumbnail, I've already established the larger shapes. All I really need to do is replicate what I worked out on a small scale at the size of the actual portrait. I'm starting with the hair and background, massing them in with dark transparent colours mixed with a tiny amount of solvent to give me a more interesting texture. Next, I'm using my first pre-mixed flesh colour to block in the light side of the face. I pre-mixed flesh colours for each of the four main values: the lights, shadows, a mid-tone between the lights and the shadows, and the highlights. These four main values correspond to the larger shapes that make up the face. Here, I'm using the shadow colour to mass in the eye sockets. Beginners almost always rush this stage, wanting to place details like the irises and pupils. But if the big shapes aren't placed correctly first, no amount of refining and detail will save them later. You can't build a realistic portrait on a foundation that's wrong. I'm now scratching out the highlights with the back of my brush. Because I'm facing the light side of the model, the only shadow is under her jaw, so the highlights are really important for creating volume. I also find measuring their position and the distance between them useful for checking the proportions. I'm then using some of the shadow colour to place the underside of the nose. This isn't actually a shadow, but just like the eye sockets, I'm ignoring all the details like the nostrils. By turning this area into a shadow, it makes it easier to place the larger shapes of the nose correctly. I'll lighten the underside of the nose and add the details later during the refining stages. Next, I'm refining the hairline. I would normally leave this until much later, but the hair keeps moving and I quite like it in the position it's in now, so I'm just going for it. Placing the shadows under the curls and softening some of the edges where the hair meets the forehead. By the end of the blocking, you should already be able to recognize your sitter. Just like seeing someone you know in the distance, you don't see details, but you can tell who they are from the larger light and shadow shapes. There's an 80-20 rule. After the first 20% of the painting time, it should almost look 80% finished. The remaining 80% of the time will be spent refining. If I was working on this for a single session, I would aim to get to this stage in about an hour. Then I'd just plow ahead. But a single session painting is essentially just a study. If it's not successful, I'll throw it away. For a longer project I intend to keep, I'll take my time and aim to complete the blocking by the end of day one. All I have to do then is return after it has dried and try not to destroy it. So how do you do that? I used to dread coming back to a painting after it had dried. If I was pleased with what I'd done in the previous session, I'd be terrified of ruining it. But oil paint is the most versatile medium we have. Once you learn how to use it properly, it lets you fix absolutely anything. You can scrape it off while it's wet, and when it's dry, you can just paint over it. But before painting over it, there's an essential step. Here, I'm applying a very thin layer of medium over the dry paint, what's known as oiling out. When oil paint dries, it sometimes goes matte, what painters call sinking in. So colours will look different from how they appeared when the paint was fresh. I'm using Michael Harding's PM1 oil painting medium, but linseed oil is fine. You must only use a very thin layer, as too much oil will destabilise the layers of paint above. And I'm using a soft head brush, because even though the paint is dry to touch, it may not have dried completely, so you need to be careful you don't scrape it off. So why does it actually matter if the colour looks slightly different when dry? Well, this is one of the most important lessons I've ever learned, which solved the mystery of working for multiple sessions. When I came back for the second session, I'd try to match the colours on the model, and they'd always be slightly different, so I'd end up repainting the whole thing, repeating the same work over and over. It sounds obvious now, but none of my teachers ever showed me this because they only did single session demos. I eventually figured this out on my own. To carry on with the same painting, you need to match the colours in your painting, and this is the real reason you need to oil out. Before trying to match them, you need to restore dried colours to how they'd appear when fresh. Here's another trick to avoid repainting the whole thing. When you're checking a new colour, don't load a big brush and paint over a large area. Use a tiny brush and place a small dot. I'm trying to match the highlight colour, and as you can see, it stands out because it's too light. I'll then keep adjusting my mixture and painting over the dot each time. When the dot disappears, I've got the right colour. So the first thing I do whenever I return to a dry painting is oil out the areas that have sunken in, then remix big piles of the same colours from the blocking. I'm now ready for the refining stage, and when it comes to a portrait, I always start in exactly the same place. Here, I'm refining the glabella, the area between the eyebrows just above the bridge of the nose. Artists sometimes call this the keystone area because it's shaped like the keystone at the top of an arch. I'll then work downwards towards the tear ducts in the inside corners of the eyes, then outwards towards the irises. Notice I'm not trying to finish the eyes completely, adding all the small details. I'm just trying to make sure the irises are placed correctly. One of the biggest problems people have is getting sucked into detail too soon. They then jump around working on whatever catches their eye. If you add too much detail in some areas, it makes other areas look unfinished. So you keep refining until eventually you overwork everything, so it loses its freshness. The best way I've found to stop one area pulling ahead of the rest is by working in a specific order. Starting from the keystone, I'll move outwards towards the area around the eyes and nose. Here, I'm adding some more colourful pink and green notes to the highlights. When I'm mixing new colours for the refining stages, Instead of mixing each one from scratch, I find it much quicker to adjust the piles I already have, making them a little lighter or darker, warmer or cooler, or a little more intense. I find it keeps everything harmonious without having to think about it too much. Next, I'm working on the underside of the nose. During the blocking, I simplified this whole area into a shadow to make it easier to place. But now I need to lighten it and make it more accurate. I'm switching to smaller brushes to refine the edges where it turns into the nasolabial fold and the area above the upper lip, then placing the nostril. For a list of the brushes I use, there's a link to my brush guide below. After the eyes and nose, I'll move on to the mouth. It's important not to leave the mouth too cut out. There are only a few accents between the lips. Most of the edges around the lips and the corners of the mouth fade into the surrounding flesh. If this was a commissioned portrait, I'd be aiming to get to this stage by the end of day 2. But I've still got some time, so I'll move on to the forehead and the rest of the hairline. I know I worked on a section of the hairline during the blocking, but I wouldn't normally work on the outer edges of the face until after I'd placed the features properly. You could spend ages creating a beautifully refined hairline or jaw, only to find you need to move it once you've placed the eyes or mouth. So I think that will do for now. I'm saving one of the trickiest parts of the painting, my least favourite, for the final day. It's subtle, but notice how I've made the model's cheek appear a little rounder and fuller than it really is. She's actually a bit slimmer and more refined. The reason for this is the jaw. Refining the edges of the jawline is always one of the trickiest passages in a portrait. Achieving the right balance between definition and softness is particularly difficult with women. The jawline is usually one of the passages I will end up struggling with and repainting the most. Here you can see I'm already scraping it back with my palette knife. Then once again I'm blocking in the large shadow shape under the jaw, essentially returning the area to its blocking state, and I'm correcting the angle, which immediately makes my sitter look slimmer. Painting over a whole area you've been working on for hours can be pretty scary. It feels like you're destroying your work, but that's exactly how the best brushwork is created. Alla prima painting is one process, working large to small. To fix anything, you need to repeat the process, re-establish the larger shape, reposition it if necessary, then re-refine. My first attempt at painting anything, I'll usually fiddle around too much and overwork it. It will often take several attempts to figure out the colour notes and subtle value shifts, placing them with fewer, bolder brushstrokes each time. But bold brush marks need to be used sparingly. Too many would be distracting. Some passages, like this jawline, need to be very carefully refined. Sargent is a perfect example of this. Look closely at his portraits and you'll see passages of incredibly careful, subtle modelling. The looser brushwork appears bold precisely because everything around them is quieter. Here, I'm adding the final details to the eyes, and this is always the point when I start asking myself the hardest question in painting. How do you know when it's finished? One of the biggest worries painters have when working across multiple sessions is overworking. A portrait completed in a single session can have a wonderful lively quality, but honestly, those are just studies. If they turn out well, it's often down to luck. For every good one, probably 3 end up in the bin, and even the good ones will have areas that are unresolved or could be improved. Working across multiple sessions gives you a chance to finish a portrait where nothing is unresolved or left to chance, but only if you know when to stop. So here's what I look for. Does anything feel distracting? Any hard edges that need softening, or brush marks pulling my eye? Is the level of detail balanced across the whole painting? Is there too much detail somewhere I don't need to look? Do any areas need more detail? Unfinished areas also distract. When the answer to all those questions is no, then you can put your brush down. This can take a while. You may think a painting is finished, only to spot something that needs fixing months later. The results may look fresh and spontaneous, but that's how some of the greatest works of art were created, over months or even years. So if you've got a painting in the corner that you gave up on, It might just need a few more sessions. If this video has changed the way you think about alla prima painting, let me know in the comments. And if you want one of the best exercises you can practice at home to master Sargent's loose brushwork, watch this video next.